Right now at 5, a years-long backlog of untested rape kits in Missouri causes problems for survivors looking for justice.
We've got a very mild start to our Tuesday and a windy start. We'll tell you how windy it's going to get and what comes next coming up.
And PSU enters a partnership with Washburn University to help students trying to earn their law degree.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So if you haven't stepped outside, you haven't noticed yet that it's breezy, but
it is.
I mean, you could hear it if you can hear it in your house. My lights flickered just a little bit this morning as the wind was really starting to gust. So, and that's a possibility. As the morning progresses, the winds will actually increase. And so, you know, some small tree branches could be down. We could also be looking at an isolated power outage or two. So this is by 6 a.m. It's a little zoomed out because that's just how the map starts. But look at what some of these expected gusts are. Look at Pittsburgh, upwards of 52. We're talking some excessive wind gusts, and they're going to persist through the morning until about the noon hour. And then they'll drop out of that 40, 50 mile an hour range and get back down into the 30 mile an hour range as we head into the evening and overnight. So make sure your trash can is secured. And of course, as we mentioned yesterday, do not turn on your Christmas inflatables just yet. Skywatch Storm Tracker is clear, but these counties highlighted here, this is a wind advisory until 1 o'clock today as we're going to see those gusty winds hold on. Right now in Joplin, look at this. It is 58 degrees today. South wind, this is the sustained wind at 30 miles an hour. We're looking at the gusts already pushing 40 this morning. Across the area, we are quite mild. This south breeze has ushered in a lot of warm air. 52 Iola, Fort Scott, 50 in Lamar, 54 Miami, 53 in Neosho. Live look at the MoDOT camera, 36 in range line. Looks good so far, and we have a yellow light for your morning drive because of the wind. Will be mostly cloudy in the 50s, and a yellow light for the drive home as that wind could still be gusty at times for your evening drive. But look at those temperatures as they go down. Kids getting on the bus this morning, 54 degrees and windy. Kids coming home, 56, mostly clear and still windy. We're heading for an early high of about 65 degrees, and then look at the temperatures as they drop throughout the day down to 34 by 8, and we're having an overnight low of 24 degrees for tonight under mostly clear skies. So we're going to talk more about the 7-day forecast, how long the cold weather sticks around here in just a couple of minutes.
All right, a lot to talk about, and it's Giving Tuesday, also
That's
known
true.
as Toy Box Tuesday here at KOAM.
That's true. Very true.
All right, more details on that to come. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, authorities in El Dorado Springs, Missouri discover a deceased person near a creek bed. On Sunday at just after 2 in the afternoon, El Dorado Springs police responded to the 100 block of North Jackson Street concerning a deceased person in the nearby creek bed. The deceased has been identified as 30-year-old Tori Richards of El Dorado Springs. Cedar County Coroner's Office is assisting the investigation, although authorities say there is no apparent sign of foul play. Next of kin has been notified. At least 2 people are dead and a man is in custody following a shooting yesterday afternoon in Baxter Springs, Kansas. Authorities responded to reports just before 3 p.m. yesterday to a home in the 2400 block of Lincoln. Cherokee County authorities confirmed 2 people are dead. 1 person has life-threatening injuries. Authorities say they arrested 41-year-old Kyle Butts of Independence, Missouri. He's in the Cherokee County Jail pending formal charges. Authorities tell us they expect to remain at the crime scene all night. A light trailer was brought in to illuminate the entire property. KBI is now taking over the investigation. Pitt State announces a partnership with the University of Washburn. The partnership will speed up the process of getting a law degree. Under the new program, students will be able to spend 3 years at Washburn and 3 years at Pitt State, wrapping up the degree 2 years earlier than normal.
Southeast Kansas has a shortage of attorneys, and like any community, we need professionals in every area to be able to thrive. And so the way this will benefit the community is that by establishing a relationship between Southeast Kansas and Washburn Law School, our hope is that some of those graduates will return to Southeast Kansas.
Students accepted into the program will also get at least $5,000 in scholarships. Well, a years-long backlog of untested rape kits in Missouri is causing problems for survivors looking for justice. Missouri Safe Kit Initiative is a program designed to eliminate that backlog. Missouri has untested rape kits dating back to 1997. And recently, the state received state and federal funding to test 70% of kits from 2018 and 2020. Still, victims are waiting years to get the results from their kits.
4 years is ridiculous for someone that goes through that to have to wait for a chance for justice, And then that person is just walking free like nothing happened, and they're getting away with it and doing it to who knows how many other people.
Nationwide, since 2015 to March of 2020, the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative Program has sent 83,201 kits for testing.
Quick look at sunrise, sunset today. 7:11 for that sunrise, 5:02 for the sunset. 7-day forecast. So the temperatures again will fall through today. 41 tomorrow, 49 by Thursday, maybe a slight chance for a shower on Friday, and 58. So we do try to warm back up as we head into the weekend. And then we also see increasing rain chances as we head into the start of next week.
All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Lady Gorillas take on Lincoln in basketball. We'll have the results of that game in sports.
Plus, a Wisconsin neighborhood gets together to put on a light show to help raise money to fight childhood cancer.
And how drinking that Merlot while you eat your salad may help your memory. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. But first, here's a live look at the Christmas lights, the Webb City Praying Hands.
Well, the Pitt State women are 4-1 to start the season and are coming off a huge win. The Gorillas dropped 95 points in their home opener, their last time out. PSU is back on the floor, kicking off its MIAA schedule against the Lincoln Blue Tigers. Tristan Gegg gets the Gorillas rolling off the turnover. She finishes on the other end. Then, a great pass from Harper Schreiner. Gegg gets the bucket for 2. She scores the Gorillas' first 9 points and finishes with 16. In the second, Lincoln on the fast break. Kelsey Mitchell buries the 3. It's 31-29 Pitt State at half. Out of the break, Grace Pyle knocks one down from distance. Starts to pull away, and Corinna Gerber catches fire. She's going to bank it in off the board. Gerber scores a team-high 17 points. Pitt State rolls by Lincoln 78-54. On the men's side, the Gorillas open their conference schedule against Lincoln, aiming to hand the Blue Tigers their first loss of the season. A few minutes in, Deshaun English knocks it down. Gorillas out to an early lead. And then Jeremy Shaw going to drive to the basket, finishes with the two-handed jam. Gorillas up by 6 here. Quentin Hardrick gets the basket for 2. Hardrick leads Pitt State with 20 points. Other way, Sam Routens drains the 3. Gets tied up at 25. Now back to English. He's going to make a few nice moves and score. He gets a huge double-double, 17 points and 23 rebounds. Pitt State puts up a big second half to beat Lincoln 66-54. Kansas Jayhawks hit the floor against Texas Southern. Kansas dominates 87-55. Jalen Wilson finishes with 22 points, and MJ Rice comes off the bench and scores 19. Jayhawks improved to 7-1 this season. The Kansas City Chiefs picked up their 5th straight win on Sunday, beating the Rams 26-10. They're now 9-2 this season. The Chiefs are on a roll, heading into a big game this Sunday. Kansas City travels to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. Last year, the Bengals beat the Chiefs twice, including a comeback overtime victory in the AFC Championship game. Here's Patrick Mahomes on what Kansas City has learned about the matchup.
You learn that you got to just continue to push. You can't be satisfied with where you're at. We scored a lot of points in the first half. We went in kind of thinking we were going to just kind of coast to the Super Bowl, but they're a team that's going to fight. So they're going to fight to the very end. That's why they were in the Super Bowl, and so we have to make sure that we go in with 2 great halves of football, and however long it takes. We'll be ready to go this next week for sure.
Still to come, the U.S. takes on Iran in soccer today, but tensions between the two countries are still high. And we've got another check of your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Time for a little weather trivia for you this morning. We want to know this. The word cloud is derived from the Middle English word clod, What did CLUD originally mean? Was it a mass of white, a mass of water, a mass of rock, or a mass of land? When you think about that, we'll talk about wind that we're going to be dealing with and a few clouds out there as well. Wind gusts by 6 a.m. pushing that 45, even 50 mile an hour range across the area, and it will remain gusty till about noon today, maybe a little after. We'll still have 30 mile an hour wind gusts, but the good news is at least that's not 50 mile an hour wind gusts. As we head into tonight, winds still gusty for a bit, but they do start to calm down. Make sure your trash can is secure and do not turn on those Christmas inflatables just yet. Skywatch Storm Tracker is clear. The only thing on it is this brown coloring here, which is a wind advisory until 1 o'clock at the latest today because of the high wind. 7th and range line looks good. 58 degrees, wind south at 30. Gusts are pushing into the 40 mile an hour range already. We're mild across the area. 58 Center, 55 Chanute, Parsons, Chetopa, 54 Miami, 53 Neosho, and 50 in Monette. Live look at the MoDOT camera, looking at 36 in range line. Got a yellow light for your morning drive just because of the wind. Will be mostly cloudy and in the 50s, and a yellow light for the drive home because we could still be dealing with some gusts through the early evening as temperatures also start to tank rapidly through the day. Kids getting on the bus today, looking pretty decent aside from the wind. 54 mostly cloudy. When they come home, 56 and mostly clear and very windy. Heading for a high today of around 65 degrees, and after we reach that early today, temperatures will begin to fall. By 8 o'clock, we're down to 34. We reach down to an overnight low tonight of 24 degrees under mostly clear skies. Now, for the answer to our trivia question as to what the word CLUD originally meant. Well, if you thought massive rock, you would be right. In fact, it's perhaps due to the similarity between the shape and apparent texture of a bank of gray clouds and a large formation of rock. Let's look at that 7-day forecast for you real quick. After this big cool down, we're only 41 tomorrow. We try and recover a little bit on our temperatures. Slight rain chance Friday, and then better rain chances and milder as we head into next week. Well, a neighborhood in Wisconsin is once again getting together to put on a light show. Their goal? To help raise money to fund childhood cancer research. Miriam Mekar takes us to Candy Cane Lane to learn more.
The season of giving,
thank you so much, we appreciate it,
is in full swing in West Dallas's very own Winter Wonderland.
I like seeing all the blown up balloons. My favorite one is the Cowabunga. Well, Santa over there.
Cars lined up down the block for the first day of Candy Cane Lane's light show, all raising money toward funding childhood cancer research.
This is the 37th annual, so in that time, over $3 million has been raised, which is incredible.
Nearly 300 neighbors curate their own displays to garner donations for a worthy cause and put a smile on people's faces.
What do you feel when you walk through it all?
Excited and happy.
I really like all the thought they put into all the decorations. There's some really neat decorations out here.
That holiday magic is what brings Dan Moss back to help plan the annual event year after year.
I've been doing this for about 17 years.
Within an hour of opening, dozens were walking through the community-led display with friends and family, sparking joy while shining a light or two on a nonprofit close to many hearts.
Merry Christmas!
That brings us to our question for you this morning. How do you plan to give this holiday season? By donating money, by helping others, by donating blood, cooking, or maybe you have no plans to give or you've got something else in mind. Make sure you vote through our website, through our app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, people ages 65 and older make up only 16% of the U.S. population, but according to a Washington Post analysis of CDC data, people in that age group currently make up nearly 9 out of 10 COVID deaths. The pandemic has consistently hit older Americans the worst. During the first few months of the pandemic, the age group made up 8 out of 10 deaths. In the summer of 2021, it went as low as 6 out of 10. Last week, the White House announced it was launching a campaign to get more seniors and other groups disproportionately affected by the pandemic boosted. Having a salad with a glass of Merlot may help you hold on to cherished memories longer. A new study published in the Neurology Medical Journal says diets with more flavanols could improve mental strength and slow memory loss. Flavanols are antioxidants found in foods like fruits, vegetables, tea, and wine. Researchers say the results of their test held true even after adjustments were made for other factors such as age and tobacco intake. The findings are based on nearly 1,000 elderly people with no dementia signs over a 7-year period. Researchers do admit that there are limitations to their conclusion, and it's not known whether the benefits are long-term. They say more studies on isolated flavonoid effects need to be done. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We're looking at a very windy day for us as we go through the day. By 6 o'clock this morning, look at these south winds gusting upwards of 50 miles an hour in some cases. We do have a wind advisory in effect until 1 o'clock for some of us. By 10 a.m., still holding on to near 50 mile an hour wind gusts. But as the day progresses, the good news is the winds slowly start to die down. We're still looking at 30 mile an hour gusts by this afternoon. But as we head into this evening, we start to get down to the 20 mile an hour range, and eventually by tomorrow morning, winds will start to calm. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News after this, but first, here's a live look at the Christmas lights at the Webb City Praying Hands.
Right now at 5:30, a years-long backlog of untested rape kits in Missouri creates problems for survivors looking for justice.
It may look calm outside, but we've got winds already gusting to 40 miles an hour under some very mild conditions. But the mild weather won't last, and thankfully neither will the winds. We'll break it all down coming up.
And PSU enters a partnership with Washburn University to help students trying to earn their law degree.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:26. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So it is very windy outside. Winds are sustained around 30 miles an hour. They're already gusting into the 40 mile an hour range. As we go through the morning, those gusts will pick up into the 50 mile an hour range even. And as you can see, that hangs on till about noon. That's why some of us have some wind advisories out there through 1 o'clock, as it's going to stay quite breezy for a good portion of the day. It won't be until late this evening and overnight that the winds finally start to calm down. So do make sure your trash can is secure so it does not end up next door. The Skywatch Storm Tracker is clear. It should remain that way, but we do have that wind advisory for these brown highlighted counties until about 1 o'clock today. Looking right now at 7th and Rangeline, it looks good otherwise. 58 degrees, south breeze at 25, again gusting upwards of about 41 miles an hour. Across the region, gusty winds and mild temperatures, 56 in Pittsburgh, 54 Miami, 53 Neosho, and 52 in Carthage. Live look at the MoDOT camera at 36 in Rangeline. Looks good. We do have a yellow light for the morning drive just because of the winds. It'll be mostly cloudy in the 50s. And a yellow light for the drive home, as we'll still see some gusty winds this afternoon and early this evening. And take a look at temperatures starting to drop as the evening goes on as well. Kids getting on the bus this morning, other than the winds, not bad. 54 and mostly cloudy, and will be mostly clear by the time they get home at 3 and 56. Our high will be 65, but we'll reach that somewhat early, and then the temperatures will begin to fall throughout the day. We'll eventually drop back down to a low of 24 degrees tonight. So very cold outside under mostly clear skies. The cold weather does stick around for a little bit. We'll tell you how long it sticks around and about future rain chances here in just a couple of minutes.
All right, a lot to talk about, that's for sure. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, authorities in El Dorado Springs, Missouri discovered a deceased person near a creek bed on Sunday at just after 2 in the afternoon. El Dorado Springs police responded to the 100 block of North Jackson Street concerning a deceased person in the nearby creek bed. The deceased has been identified as 30-year-old Tori Richards of El Dorado Springs. The Cedar County Coroner's Office is assisting the investigation, although authorities say there is no apparent sign of foul play. Next of kin has been notified. At least 2 people are dead and a man is in custody following a shooting yesterday afternoon in Baxter Springs, Kansas. Authorities responded to reports just before 3 p.m. to a home in the 2400 block of Lincoln. Cherokee County authorities confirmed 2 people are dead and 1 person has life-threatening injuries. Authorities say they arrested 41-year-old Kyle Butts of Independence, Missouri. He is in the Cherokee County Jail pending formal charges. Authorities say they expect to remain at the crime scene all night. A light trailer was brought in to illuminate the entire property. KBI is now taking over the investigation. Pitt State yesterday announces a partnership with the University of Washburn. The partnership will speed up the process of getting a law degree. Under the new program, students will be able to spend 3 years at Washburn and 3 years at Pitt State, wrapping up the degree 2 years earlier than normal.
They can come back out into the community and actually work with a firm or a judge or in a prosecutor's office that they want to be back into. So for practical purposes, in 5 years, rather than 7 years traditionally, they can be back out in this community if this is where they want to practice law when they're done.
Students accepted into the program will get at least $5,000 in scholarships. Missouri has untested rape kits dating back to 1997, and recently the state received state and federal funding to test 70% of kits from 2018 and 2020. They're called safe kits for sexual assault forensic evidence. KOAM's Carrie Worthen spoke with a victim about her frustration in waiting for results of her safe kit to come back.
The 19th of this month was 14 months since I was sexually assaulted.
Safe kits are backlogged across Missouri. I spoke with one anonymous victim about her wait and her safe kit results.
So I am just really frustrated that nothing is being done. Nobody knows really in the public how backlogged the state crime lab is because it's not talked about.
Captain William Davis says it's not an issue in Joplin, but more of the Missouri Attorney General's office.
We have about a 2-week turnaround right now that those have to be shipped out to either, we send them to the state crime lab, and so they're only housed now for a very short period of time before we send them off to the state crime lab.
The anonymous victim said she filed a protective order towards the attacker, but it has been a year and the order has expired.
It's expired at this point, at the year mark. And so not only do I have to figure out how to move on without, the kit being processed and all of that to help things move forward, but I also have to figure out how to feel safe without all of that being taken care of.
A lot of times we'll have to sit and wait for any evidence or results that come in from that testing before we can continue with a criminal investigation if there aren't any further leads that we can utilize to help develop a criminal case for prosecution.
Nationwide, since 2015 to March 2022, the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative program has sent 83,201 kits for testing.
I really just feel like my goal is to get the crime lab functioning properly, to where this isn't an issue, that we don't have a year or 3 or 4 year wait just to, get a DNA kit back.
In Joplin, Carrie Worthen, KOAM News.
To prevent a backlog of safe kits from developing in the future, the Missouri Attorney General's office has developed an evidence tracking system that will track safe kits from production through case adjudication as it moves between organizations during the process. This morning, we're discussing the season of giving.
Yeah, the season of giving is in full swing in one Wisconsin neighborhood's very own winter wonderland. Cars lined up down the block for the first day of Candy Cane Lane's light show, all raising money toward funding childhood cancer research.
Nearly 300 neighbors curate their own displays to garner donations for a worthy cause and put a smile on people's faces. That holiday magic is what brings people back to help plan the annual event year after year. Dozens were walking through the community LED display with friends and family.
Sparking joy while shining a light or two on a nonprofit close to many hearts. And that brings us to our question for you this morning. How do you plan to give this holiday season? Is it going to be by donating money, donating blood, cooking? Maybe you don't have any plans, or maybe you're going to do something else. So far, 100% of you say you're going to give by donating money. And of course, we have our very own causes right here at KOAM and Fox 14 with the KOAM Toy Box.
Our very first telethon kicks off today at noon, 5 and 6. It's so easy.
Yeah.
All you have to do during our noon newscast is call in. There's the number to call, 2 easy numbers to call there, depending where you're at. And you call in and donate, and we do the shopping for you.
And we've made it easy too. You can also donate online if you'd like. So if you're a little more tech savvy, want to go that route, you can do it that way as well. And of course, on Fox 14, our sister station, we have Feed the 4 States. It helps out local food banks as well. So we got a lot of ways to give back here at KOAM, a lot of ways for you to give back, and of course, lots of opportunities for you just to give back to the communities that you live in personally.
Yeah, and if you prefer to do the shopping yourself and don't want to participate in the telethon, that's wonderful too. We have a list of partner organizations where you can drop it off here at the station, or you can drop it off at any of our partner locations. Find those on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so today we start off mild. We're going to get cold tonight, and as we head into tomorrow, we don't really warm up a lot. 41 degrees for the high. We do try to recover a bit. Rain chances Friday, and then a little cooler Saturday. We start to warm up next week, but then we also see rain chances increase again as well.
That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, it's important to return your library books on time. Some people do and some people don't. We've got the story of a library book that made its return home 47 years late.
Plus, how the COVID lockdowns in China backfired against the government, leading to protests across the country. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, the U.S. soccer team is preparing for a must-win match against Iran today at the World Cup. Meanwhile, politics and policy between the two rival nations is once again becoming a problem. Rich Edson tells us why.
You're pronouncing our country's name wrong. Our country is named Iran, not Iran. Are you okay to be representing the U.S. meanwhile there's so much discrimination happening against black people in America?
An unusual pregame news conference at the World Cup, though this is the United States versus Iran.
My apologies on the mispronunciation of your country. Yeah, that being said, there's discrimination everywhere you go. In the U.S., we're continuing to make progress every single day.
A match to decide if the U.S. or Iran advances to the next round grew even more contentious when the U.S. Soccer Federation posted images on social media that removed the Islamic Republic's emblem from the center of the regime's flag. The Federation has deleted the controversial image and includes the standard Iranian flag on its other posts. U.S. Soccer says it was supporting women in Iran. Iran's government-backed media has called on FIFA to expel the U.S. from the World Cup. Team USA players and coaches say they knew nothing about the altered flag ahead of the posts, though they endorse the sentiment.
We support women's rights. What we're doing as a team is supporting that while also trying to prepare for the biggest game that this squad has had to date.
For months, there have been protests in Iran after a 22-year-old woman, Mahsa Amini, died in the custody of Iran's morality police. Human rights activists say authorities have killed hundreds and arrested thousands. Iran soccer players offered their own protests, refusing to sing the regime's national anthem before their first game.
That could have serious consequences in an authoritarian state like Iran. Security services have reportedly arrested a former national team player and the supreme leader's niece for supporting the protest. Well, salsa dancers in Venezuela shimmied their way through a stadium in Caracas in an attempt to beat a world record. More than 2,000 people danced Sunday, hoping to beat the Guinness World Record for the largest salsa casino circle. Casino is a salsa partner dance that started in Cuba in the 1950s. Organizer says he wants to show that Venezuela is keeping the dance tradition alive. The results of the record attempt have not yet been announced. How fun. Well, an extremely rare show of public disgust with the Chinese government over the strict COVID lockdowns by Chinese citizens taking to the streets. There's major pushback to China's zero COVID policy, which appears to be breaking down. Infection rates are rising, restrictions are tightening, and Chinese citizens are being uncharacteristically vocal about it, despite government crackdowns. Jillian Turner has the latest.
In Shanghai, China's largest city, protesters clashed with police, calling for President Xi Jinping to resign. In capital city Beijing, protests erupt, including among students at one of China's most prestigious universities. The BBC says reporter Ed Lawrence was beaten and arrested by Chinese police while covering protests last night. Officials initially claimed they arrested the reporter in order to protect him from catching COVID in the crowd. And today, China's foreign ministry says the reporter failed to identify himself as a journalist. In Washington, the National Security Council today cast doubt on the effectiveness of Chinese lockdowns. We think it's going to be very difficult for the People's Republic of China to be able to contain this virus through their zero COVID strategy. White House officials endorsed the protests, but stopped short of condemning the Communist Party.
This is, I think, a moment to reassert
what we believe in when it comes to free assembly and peaceful protest. And we've done that, and we'll continue to do that, whether it's people protesting in Iran or China or anywhere else.
The scale and scope of these protests are a first during President Xi's tenure.
It's not just protests against some local official because he's corrupt. This is against Xi Jinping and the Communist Party.
Tension boiled over Thursday after an apartment fire killed 10 people in a high-rise in Xinjiang province. Some residents there had been locked down for 100 days. Some protesters are waving blank sheets of white paper to communicate oppression and feelings of voicelessness. Republican lawmakers here in Washington are blasting the Xi regime.
They're still welding Chinese people into their apartments. We have toddlers being taken from their parents and put into quarantine camps.
The Chinese government maintains strict control over social media inside the country, and now in a bid to make it difficult for users to access posts about the protests sweeping the country, Chinese bots are flooding Twitter with escort ads and other sexually explicit content, drowning out real search results. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
We've got some very windy hours ahead of us as we head through the morning. Winds will continue to increase this morning as we see gusts upwards of 50 miles an hour across the area. As we head into the afternoon and evening, they will eventually start to calm down. By 2 o'clock, the gusts are down to about 30 miles an hour. As we head into the early evening hours, they're down to about 20. It's not until early tomorrow morning that the winds finally start to calm down. We do have a wind advisory for these counties until 1 o'clock today because of how windy it's going to get. Right now in Joplin, mild, 58. Breezes south at 33 with gusts upwards of about 43, 44 miles an hour right now. Taking a look at temperatures across the area, thanks to this strong south breeze and southerly flow, we are quite mild. 55 Chanute, Parsons, Chatopa, 57 Veneta, 56 Miami, 51 Lamar, and 53 in Carthage. Live look at the MoDOT camera at 36 in range line. Looks good so far. We got a yellow light, though, for your morning drive just because of the wind. We'll be mostly cloudy and in the 50s, and same yellow light for the drive home for the same reason. We could still see those gusty conditions, and take a look at temperatures falling throughout the day. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Kids getting on the bus this morning, other than the wind, not bad. 54 degrees, mostly cloudy. Still very breezy when they get home, 56, and mostly clear skies. We got partly cloudy, mostly clear skies throughout the day, an early high of 65, and then we'll start to fall through the day. We're down to 34 by 8 o'clock, and we'll eventually clear out with mostly clear skies and drop back down to a low of 24 degrees. 7-day forecast, let's look at that. Only 41 tomorrow, but at least we'll be mostly clear. 49 Thursday, 58 by Friday, so a little bit warmer, maybe some rain chances. Cool again on Saturday, 43, and we warm back up heading into next week, as you can see. But we have another system bringing us rain chances Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And once it exits, look at what it does. We drop back down again. 26 Tuesday night, only 36 next Wednesday, only 30 degrees by next Thursday with an overnight low of 19. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News, but first, here's a live look at the Christmas lights in Webb City. We'll be right back.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. At least 2 people are dead and a man is in custody following a shooting yesterday afternoon in Baxter Springs, Kansas. Authorities responded to reports just before 3 p.m. to a home in the 2400 block of Lincoln. Cherokee County authorities confirmed 2 people are dead and 1 person has life-threatening injuries. Authorities say they arrested 41-year-old Kyle Butts of Independence, Missouri. He is in the Cherokee County Jail pending formal charges. Authorities say they expect to remain at the crime scene all night. A light trailer was brought in to illuminate the entire property. KBI is now taking over the investigation. Authorities in El Dorado Springs, Missouri discover a deceased person near a creek bed. On Sunday at just after 2 in the afternoon, El Dorado Springs police responded to the 100 block of North Jackson Street concerning a deceased person in the nearby creek bed. The deceased has been identified as 30-year-old Tori Richards of El Dorado Springs. Cedar County Coroner's Office is assisting the investigation, although authorities say there is no apparent sign of foul play. Next of kin has been notified. When a Native American is murdered or disappears on one of the 324 federally recognized reservations across the country, majority of these cases are within federal jurisdiction. That's requiring federal law enforcement to investigate. And statistics show these communities see a disproportionate amount of violence and missing persons cases. More than 82% of American Indian and Alaska Native men and women reported experiences of violent victimization in their lifetime. according to the Congressional Research Service. Similarly, Native Americans also reported missing at higher rates than the general U.S. public. And among the missing Native Americans, authorities are still searching for Grove, Oklahoma native Aubrey Dameron. She was 25 years old at the time when she went missing in March of 2019. If you have any information about the location of Aubrey Dameron, you're urged to contact the Delaware County Sheriff's Office, the OSBI, or the Cherokee Nation Marshal Service. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
We've got some wind advisories for these counties until 1 o'clock today, and that's because we are going to see winds gusting upwards of 50 miles an hour this morning. 7th and Rangeline, it looks good, but it is breezy. 58. Winds south at 33, gusting to about 45 miles an hour, and they will continue to increase. Thanks to that strong southerly breeze, we're mild. 57 Pittsburgh, 51 Lamar, 56 Miami, 53 in Neosho. Live look at the MoDOT camera at 36 in Rangeline. Looks good so far. It's shaking a little bit in the wind. Yellow light for your morning drive because of the wind. Mostly cloudy in the 50s, and the same yellow light for the drive home for the same reason. Those windy conditions could continue, but look at the temperatures falling. Kids getting on the bus this morning. Not bad outside of the wind. 54 degrees. Mostly cloudy skies. When they get home, we're looking at mostly clear and 56. Going through today, we'll have an early high of 65 degrees, and you can see temperatures will slowly start to fall throughout the day. Down to 34 by 8. We're mostly clear tonight, and we drop back down to a very cold 24 degrees. 7-day forecast, we do not do much warming tomorrow, 41. We warm up a bit Thursday and Friday, maybe some rain showers, a little cooler on Saturday. We warm up again into the start of next week. Temperatures into the 60s by Monday, but as you can see, another system with more rain chances on the way. We're back with more after this, but first, here's another live look at the Christmas lights at the Praying Hands in Webb City.
Overdue by decades, a library book finally made its way back home to Lake Elmo 47 years later.
Mary Elmos learned about this book's journey and its unexpected return.
So Karen, where would this book have been in the library?
Sure, it would be in the 629 section.
Karen Rodericks points out where the Chilton Import Car Repair Manual used to be, at the Lake Elmo branch of Washington County Library.
Diesel repair book too in here.
For decades it was missing from the shelves until earlier this month when it arrived by mail. Inside the front cover, a handwritten note.
In the mid-1970s, I was living in Lake Elmo and was working on an old Mercedes-Benz. A few months later, I moved, and apparently the book got packed up in the move.
The anonymous sender didn't include a return address, but explained why the book was never returned.
My apologies to anyone in Lake Elmo who was working on an old Benz in the last 47 years. I probably can't afford the overdue charge, but I will send you enough for another book.
$200 cash was also included with the note.
This is the prize, the note.
It was the story behind the book's journey that was more valuable to Karen than the cash inside. Washington County Libraries no longer charges overdue fees, and they have other copies of the manual at other branches, so that money will be reinvested back into the Lake Elmo Library.
The library always needs money, and we probably will put it towards books.
In a time where everything is digital and libraries don't get as many people renting physical copies, it was nice for them to see a stranger remind them how much they care.
That just shows how much he values the library.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, unfortunately, the book is not in good enough condition to lend out again. Darn it.
Yeah, but the library did save the note of its journey back home. I can't say I've ever had a library book be that late going back. I think anytime I was late, it was probably with the school library. But even then, they were pretty good about reminding you about getting your books back. So
I think I found one last year that we returned to the middle school. It was a year late.
Oh, goodness. Well, hey, at least that book made its way back home. Eventually,
Yes.
It got back there.
Eventually.
Well, we got to check your windy forecast right after this. We got some wind advisories for some folks, and here's why. Winds will start gusting upwards of 50 miles an hour as we head through the morning and the first half of the day. And as we get into the afternoon, they're still gusting upwards of 30 to maybe even 40 miles an hour, but they do begin to calm down from west to east. And we'll hold on to these gusty winds through the overnight. It won't be until early tomorrow morning that we actually see the winds finally calm down. Here's where those wind advisories are through 1 o'clock today. Right now at 7th and Rangeline, it's mild, 58 degrees. Wind to south-southwest at 35, gusting well above 40 at this point. And thanks to that southerly breeze, we're mild across the area. 50 in Yates Center, 55 Chinook, Parsons, Chetopa, 56 Miami, 53 Neosho, and 51 in Monette. Live look at the MoDOT camera at I-44 and Rangeline, looking at 36th Street. Yellow light for the morning drive because of the wind. So if you're driving a high-profile vehicle, shoot, at this point, even if you're driving a smaller vehicle, 50-mile-an-hour winds can still get you. So do be careful on your morning drive. And the same yellow light for the exact same reason for the drive home. So we could still be dealing with those winds, and then temperatures will start to fall as well. Kids getting on the bus, 54 degrees, breezy and mostly cloudy. Still breezy, 56 by 3. We're looking at mostly clear to partly cloudy skies. We'll have an early high of 65, and then temperatures will start to drop throughout the day, down to 34 by 8. As we head into tonight, we get down to a very cold 24 degrees under mostly clear skies. Now let's take a look at the extended forecast here. So tomorrow, not much warming going on, 41 for the high. We start to warm up a bit heading into Friday. We see some rain chances, cooling down Saturday to 43. We start warming up at the beginning of next week. As you can see, another system brings not only milder temperatures, but more rain chances. And once it exits, Wednesday, 36, 30 on Thursday, and look at that overnight low Wednesday night of 19. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News here in about 2 minutes.
Right now at 6, authorities in Baxter Springs take a man into custody after a Monday afternoon shooting leaves 2 people dead.
And we've got a very mild start to our day, but a very windy start today to our day as well. We'll talk about those winds, temperatures, and the changes on the way coming up.
And the Joplin housing market begins a course correction from a seller's market to a more even market. Our own Yana Dula talks to a Joplin realtor to find out what this means for buyers and sellers.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. Just after 6 o'clock on this fine Tuesday morning, which means we're that much closer to the weekend. We got to celebrate that every time.
Yeah.
Something of interest, maybe not. When I was younger, I went to Cecil Floyd in Joplin, where the big playground out back was on a downhill slant. And when I'm not a very big guy as it is, and when I was younger, I was even smaller, and I had this big, heavy coat when I was a kid. And I'm not making this up. On really windy days, I could take that coat and turn it around like that and jump into the air, and the wind would carry me a couple of feet.
Nice.
Teachers were not as amused as I was, but it was still fun. And today is a day, if you're a young child, as long as you're cautious about it, you might be able to fly just a little bit, because we are looking at some absolutely
do not
rainy
listen to Chris.
windy.
Do not try this at home.
Yeah, okay, maybe not. That might be why the teachers thought it was a bad idea. We got wind gusts today upwards of about 50 miles an hour out of the south as we head through the morning. Winds will start to calm down later today, but as you can see, even by this afternoon, they're still gusting upwards of 30 miles an hour. It won't be until tomorrow morning that the winds actually calm down. That's why we have wind advisories for the counties in that tannish color until 1 o'clock today. Right now at 7th and Rangeline, mild 58, but south-southwest breeze at 35, gusts well into the 40-mile-an-hour range out there. And temperatures across the area still quite mild, 56 Chinook, 56 Chetopa, Miami, 55 Neosho, Anderson, and 57 in Nevada this morning. Live look at the MoDOT camera looking at 36 in Rangeline. Yellow light for your morning drive because of the wind, and same reason, same light for the drive home because of those windy conditions. So do be careful out there. Kids getting on the bus this morning, 54 degrees, mostly cloudy. Don't need to tell you it's going to be windy when they get home, 56 and mostly clear at 3 o'clock. We're hitting an early high of about 65 degrees, and temperatures will start to fall through the day, and they'll do so pretty quickly as well as that cold front rolls through. 34 by 8, heading for an overnight low tonight of 24 degrees. We're going to go from 65 to 24 degrees tonight. But at least we'll have clear skies. We'll talk about these cold temperatures, how long they're going to stick around, and some rain chances that are on the way here in just a couple of minutes.
All right. Sounds like we got a lot to talk about.
We always do.
But kids, do not try to jump off the roof today.
No. And hey, I'm not encouraging anybody to jump off a roof. Even I wouldn't do that. I would just, I just
don't want somebody to try to do this, and then they, their excuse was Chris Warner told me to.
That's probably a good idea. But I was on the ground on a playground, okay? It was a little safer. Don't go up somewhere high and be crazy. You got to be ground level.
There you go.
It's a little safer down closer to the ground.
Okay.
But yeah, don't do it. Probably don't do it. Your teachers won't be amused. Mine weren't.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, Monday afternoon shooting takes the life of 2 people in Baxter Springs, and authorities take the suspected shooter into custody. Authorities responded to reports just before 3 p.m. Monday afternoon to a home in the 2400 block of Lincoln. Cherokee County authorities confirmed 2 people are dead and 1 person has life-threatening injuries. Authorities say they arrested 41-year-old Kyle Butts of Independence, Missouri. He is in the Cherokee County Jail pending formal charges. The KBI is now taking over the investigation. You can follow this story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com as updates come in. Authorities in El Dorado Springs, Missouri discover a deceased person near a creek bed. On Sunday at just after 2 in the afternoon, El Dorado Springs police respond to the 100 block of North Jackson Street concerning a deceased person in the nearby creek bed. The deceased has been identified as 30-year-old Tori Richards of El Dorado Springs. Cedar County Coroner's Office is assisting the investigation, although authorities say there is no apparent sign of foul play. Next of kin has been notified. The housing market in Joplin continues to shift from last year's seller's market to a more even market. Keller Williams realtor Shalia Brown says the housing market in Joplin is moving to a more normalized market. Even though interest rates are going up, inventory is coming up and prices for houses are staying on hold. Brown says they see more serious buyers with Christmas time approaching.
Sometimes December is our highest month of sales as a company, so a lot of times people try to get into homes before the holidays, so we've actually had a pretty active Thanksgiving break. We just came off of quite a bit of work over Thanksgiving break, which is good. Hopefully we'll get people into their homes before Christmas and they'll get to start the new year in their new place.
Well, Brown expects inventory to stay the same for the rest of the year with around 600 to 700 houses in the market. Coming up a little later in the show, KOAM's own Yana Tola takes us to Joplin for a closer look at the housing market. Well, the holiday spirit has officially filled the city of Joplin after lighting the City Hall holiday windows. Visit Joplin installed a stained glass holiday scene in the front windows of City Hall. The 3 painted vinyl panels resemble a stained glass effect and complement last year's windows. The window looks out onto Main Street. The window was painted by local muralist Sandra Pemberton. And the city of Carthage is looking a little brighter as well. Carthage Water and Electric Plant opened its Sparkle in the Park. It's a chance for people to come out to Central Park to see a dazzling light display.
What I love about this is the kids, as you can see here tonight. Kids are running around having a great time. Families are getting great family pictures and great setting. It just really puts you in the Christmas spirit, and it makes me feel good to know that we've got great employees at Carthage Water and Electric who value this, value our community.
How pretty. Well, Sparkle in the Park will be open every day until January 1st from 6 p.m. to midnight. Well, Pittsburgh kicked off the city's holiday season with its annual Christmas parade Monday night. The parade began at 6:30 with about 60 entries and plenty of spectators. There's the KOAM float there. KOAM, of course, among those in the parade, and it was good to see so many of you out there. More parades all over the 4 states will be taking place, and with Joplin's Christmas parade coming up soon, next Tuesday, JPD is ensuring that it will be safe. Candy is allowed at the parade, but it's meant to be handed out and not thrown.
And the details, such as parade routes and entry and exit points and roads that need blocked off, we'll be working weeks ahead of time in preparation to get our plans lined out, to get manpower in order so that we can adequately staff it, make sure it's a safe event for everybody involved.
Joplin's Christmas parade will be Tuesday, December 6th. Coming up, when KOAM switches over to Fox 14, our own Jalen Banks takes us in for a closer look at parade preparations and parade safety. KOAM is looking to brighten the holiday for kids in the 4 states. If you're out shopping for the holidays, we invite you to pick up a new toy for our Toy Box project, benefiting area kids in need. It also makes it easy to give a financial donation if you'd prefer. You can also find the links on our website and the KOAM News app. Our first Toy Box Tuesday telethon is today during our noon, 5 and 6 p.m. newscast.
And it's a great cause, and like we mentioned, great and easy ways to donate, either with a new toy with some drop-off points or by giving financially.
That's right.
And you can do that by calling in during the telethon, or you can do it online if that's a little easier for you. Sunrise today, 7:11. Sunset tonight, 5:02. 7-day forecast looks like this. 41 tomorrow. We warm up a bit heading into Friday, then some showers, cooler on Saturday, and then more rain chances as we head into the start of next week. We start off mild next week, but after that system clears out by Tuesday, look at what it does to those temperatures. It gets even colder by the middle of next week. So enjoy the mild weather while you can. And don't forget, we got winds gusting upwards of 50 miles an hour today, so do be careful if you're out and about.
That's right. All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, giving the gift of life.
Saving lives on this Giving Tuesday. I'm Nichelle Medina with a California woman who has given the gift of life not once, but twice.
And the white gunman who shot and killed 10 black shoppers and workers at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, will spend the rest of his life in prison after pleading guilty to multiple charges. We'll have the details.
Plus, the biggest active volcano on Earth is erupting right now, and it's happening in the United States. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look at the Christmas lights in Webb City. Topping Nation Watch this morning, the white teenager who shot and killed 10 black people at a Buffalo, New York grocery store this spring pleads guilty to all state charges against him, including multiple counts of murder in the first degree and 1 count of domestic terrorism motivated by hate. In court, 19-year-old Peyton Gendron admitted that the crimes were motivated by race. Naomi Ruckham tells us what comes next in the proceedings and how victims' family members are reacting.
More than 6 months after the horrific massacre at a Tops grocery store in Buffalo, victims' family members say a guilty plea from the teenager responsible isn't enough.
This country is inherently violent. It is racist. And his voice showed that to me.
19-year-old Peyton Gendron used a legally purchased AR-15 style rifle in the attack while he killed 10 black workers and shoppers, including an armed security guard.
Let's stop pretending. The problem is white supremacy. This country was founded on it. It was founded on it. It's still here today.
Victims' family members wiped away tears in the courtroom as Gendron answered yes and guilty when the judge asked if he had murdered them because of their race. Gendron turned down an offer to speak to the court, but his attorney says family members will have the chance to address him before sentencing.
This critical step represents a condemnation of the racist ideology that fueled his horrific actions on May 14th.
Gendron is now the first person in the state of New York to be found guilty of a domestic terrorism charge motivated by hate.
He even went so far as to do a Google search of the zip code in New York State that had the highest concentration of African Americans.
The charges carry a mandatory sentence of life without parole. Gendron is scheduled to be sentenced in February. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Peyton Gendron still faces separate federal hate crime charges, which, if convicted, could lead to the death penalty. The Justice Department has not yet indicated whether it will seek capital punishment. That's a look at one of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we got some wind advisories for some of us through 1 o'clock today. Just before the 6 o'clock hour, the Joplin Airport reported a wind gust of 53 miles an hour. Wind to south-southwest at 35, 58 in Joplin, so quite mild this morning for all of us. 52 Neodesha, 55 Parsons, 58 Pittsburgh, 53 Lamar, and 56 down in Miami. Right now, looking at the camera from MoDOT at 36 in range line, we've got a yellow light for your morning drive because of the wind, yellow light again for your drive home because of the wind. And take a look at that. Temperatures start to fall. Kids getting on the bus this morning, 54 degrees, obviously windy, still windy when they get home, 56, mostly clear. Got mostly clear skies with some partly cloudy skies possible as well, 65 for an early high, and then temperatures begin to drop throughout the day, 34 by 8, and we head down to a low of 24 degrees tonight under mostly clear skies. Not warming up tomorrow, 41. Starting to warm up toward the weekend, some rain Friday, and then mild conditions again next week, but with more rain chances. We're back with more right after this. The biggest active volcano on Earth is erupting right now. It's happening in the United States. Lava that's some 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit is flowing on Hawaii's biggest island. Amy Kiley reports on how the state is responding.
This whole thing right here that we're flying over right now, this is Mauna Loa.
The world's largest active volcano is erupting in Hawaii for the first time in almost 40 years. It's happening on what's called the Big Island, which shares its real name with the state. The Census Bureau says just over 200,000 people live here. Scientists say the lava is flowing into the northeast rift zone. They say it should slow down in that flat terrain and likely stop before reaching the large town below.
We just are getting a little nervous from time to time, but it's at least a week away, and we're hopeful that it won't make it all the way to the town.
But many Hawaiians know the dangers of the volcanoes that shape their land. This video is from when nearby Kilauea erupted in 2018. It began a less dangerous recurrence last year, so this is a rare dual eruption on the island. To keep people safe, Hawaii's Emergency Management Agency says it has activated its operations center. A state official says the National Guard is on standby and the state health department is monitoring air quality.
I know a lot of this freaks people on the mainland out, but look, these are very rare instances. We follow them carefully with our geology folks, and we're okay.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
We've got a lot of wind to deal with for us today. We've got wind gusts as we go through the morning pushing upwards of 50 miles an hour. Just before the 6 o'clock hour, Joplin Regional Airport reported a wind gust of 53 miles an hour. So we go into the afternoon, they die down a bit, but you can still see they're gusting 30, 40 miles an hour. Even into the evening and overnight, they're still gusting. It's not until early tomorrow morning that winds do begin to calm down. And that's why for these tan counties here, we do have a wind advisory through 1 o'clock this afternoon. In Joplin right now, 58 southwest winds sustained at 35, and again gusts pushing 50 miles an hour now. Thanks to the south breeze, though, we're quite mild. 56 Chinook, 52 Iola, 53 Fort Scott, 53 Lamar, 54 Carthage, and 56 in Miami. Live look at the MoDOT camera at 36 in Rangeline. Yellow light for your morning drive due to the wind. If you're driving really any vehicle with this kind of wind, do be careful. Same with the drive home, because that wind, as you saw, could still be gusting upwards of 30, 35 miles an hour for that drive home. Kids getting on the bus, 54 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. When they get off the bus, 56, mostly clear skies at 3 o'clock. Heading for an early high of 65, and then temperatures will start to fall through the day. We're down to 34 by 8 o'clock, and we get even colder than that. We drop back down to 24 for our overnight low tonight under mostly clear skies. Only 41 tomorrow, 49 by Thursday, warm by Friday, 58, maybe a slight chance of a shower or two. Cooler Saturday, and then we start to warm up heading into next week with another system with rain chances. But once that pushes through, look at what it does to temperatures. We go from 63 Tuesday to 26. We're 36 Wednesday, 19, and only 30 by next Thursday. Be right back after this. But first, here's another live look at the Christmas lights in Webb City.
Topping Health Watch this morning, a new study looking at thousands of school-aged children who have vitamin D deficiencies suggests that supplements do not seem to help. Researchers at Harvard and in London found that taking weekly supplements for 3 years did not influence growth, body composition, or the development of puberty. Previous studies have linked vitamin D deficiency to poor growth and obesity. Well, there are calls for healthcare providers to screen pregnant women for cannabis use after a new study found they are roughly 4.6 times more likely to report using the drug in states where it is legal medically and recreationally. Researchers in Canada found a large portion of those women reported using cannabis in order to alleviate pregnancy symptoms. A new study finds American men who eat a diet high in healthy plant-based foods such as whole grains, vegetables, and legumes have a 22% lower risk of colorectal cancer compared to men who eat the lowest amounts of healthy plant foods. However, the researchers could not find the same link among American women. Well, tens of thousands of people are on the waiting list for a life-saving organ transplant. On this Giving Tuesday, Nichelle Medina has the story of a California woman who's changed the lives of 2 men by giving them both the gift of life.
This is Dan. He owns part of my liver now.
Andrea Yoakum cherishes this book, a gift from a man who was a stranger to her until she saved his life by becoming a living organ donor.
It's the most amazing thing that you can honestly choose to do.
And it's not the first time she's given this life-saving gift. The 54-year-old mother of 4 donated her kidney to another stranger, Texas pastor Yuri Carolero, in 2018.
It's a powerful thing to be able to have an impact on someone's life.
Just 133 living donors in the United States have given 2 organs to different recipients. Yoakum learned she could donate part of her liver while recovering from her first surgery.
I was insistent that I find out who I can help.
She went on Facebook to offer a portion of her liver, and a year later, Vietnam veteran Dennis Arnfelt of Iowa received his gift of life.
A single donor can save up to 8 lives.
The United Network for Organ Sharing, or UNOS, refers to Giving Tuesday as Life Giving Tuesday. More than 100,000 people are currently waiting for an organ in the U.S.
It's an opportunity for us to always be grateful for the many people that have made the decision to become a donor and to encourage people who have not yet made that decision to sign up.
Yoakum remains close with her recipients. She wears this necklace as an infinite reminder that her gift keeps on giving.
And he'll always be a part of me, and his family will be, just as I'm a part of him.
Forever connected and grateful. Nichelle Medina, CBS News, Santa Clarita, California.
Well, Andrea hopes her story inspires others to become living organ donors. If you'd like more information on organ donation, you can head over to the website registerme.org. You can even sign up from there if you'd like to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We got very gusty winds for us today. As we've been mentioning just before the 6 o'clock hour, the Joplin Regional Airport recorded a gust of 53 miles an hour, and it is going to be windy for quite some time. 58 in Joplin, south-southwest wind at 35, again gusting upwards of 50 miles an hour. That's how it is across the area. 52 Neodesha, 56 in Chanute and Chetopa and Miami, 55 Neosho Anderson, and 54 in Carthage. Live look at the MoDOT camera at 36 in range line. Looks good, but we do have a yellow light for the morning drive because of the wind. We're otherwise mostly cloudy in the 50s. A yellow light for the drive home, once again for the wind, because it'll start to die down, but we're still looking at gusts in the 30-mile-an-hour range for your drive home. Kids getting on the bus, mostly cloudy, 54 by 7 a.m., and when they get home, we're looking at 56 and mostly clear by 3 o'clock. Heading for an early high of 65, and the temperatures will begin to drop through the day, down to 34 by 8 o'clock, and then we get cold tonight, dropping back down to a low of 24 degrees for our overnight low tonight under mostly clear skies. We don't really warm up tomorrow. 41 for the high, mostly clear. We start warming up Thursday and Friday, and we see rain chances on Friday. A cool Saturday for us, and then more rain chances Sunday and Monday next week, even though we do start to trend warmer. But after this system exits out Tuesday, we get much colder back behind this next rain chance system. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Right now at 6:30, authorities in Baxter Springs take a man into custody after a Monday afternoon shooting leaves 2 people dead.
We're very mild and very windy with gusts pushing 50 miles an hour. We got some changes in the forecast. We'll tell you all about them coming up.
And the Joplin housing market begins a course correction from a seller's market to a more even market. Our own Yana Tula talks to a Joplin realtor to find out what this means for buyers and sellers.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:31. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So it's very windy. In case you haven't already noticed this, I heard the wind when I woke up this morning. My lights even flickered just a little bit. It certainly is. As we were mentioning just before the 6 o'clock hour, Joplin Regional Airport reported a gust of 53 miles an hour. And we are going to continue to see these winds gusting upwards of 50 miles an hour through the majority of the morning up until about, say, the noon hour, when they'll start to die down just a little bit, but not by much. You can see still gusting anywhere from 20, 30, even 40 miles an hour. In fact, it won't be until early tomorrow morning that we actually see the winds start to calm down. That's why we do have wind advisories for these counties highlighted in tan until 1 o'clock today, because it is going to be quite breezy. 7th and range line, it's windy but good, 58 degrees, mostly cloudy skies, south-southwest wind at 35, again gusting upwards of about 50 miles an hour out there. Temperatures across the region quite mild thanks to this strong southerly breeze. 53 Fort Scott, 55 Nevada, 54 Carthage, and 56 in Miami. Live look at the MoDOT camera at 36 in range line, looking good. You can see it shaking a bit in the wind there. Yellow light for the morning drive. We're mostly cloudy in the 50s, but again, with that wind, you need to be careful. Same with your drive home. Even though they die down a bit, that's still going to be enough to knock some vehicles around, so do be cautious if you're driving today. Kids get on the bus, breezy, of course, 54 degrees, mostly cloudy at 7 a.m. and we'll be mostly clear by 3:56. We're going to hit an early high of 65 degrees, and then temperatures will begin to drop through the day. Take a look. We're down to 34 by 8 o'clock after reaching 62 at noon. And by the time we head into the overnight hours, it's going to get quite cold after this front moves through. 24 degrees under mostly clear skies. We'll talk about how long the cold weather lasts and some rain chances on the horizon here in just a couple of minutes.
All right, definitely a lot to talk about. That wind is definitely howling out
It
there,
certainly is. Liberty's reporting just a handful of power outages in the O-show. It doesn't list necessarily if they're wind related, but it's very possible. And a power outage or two is possible with winds like this morning.
And at least it's just wind. It's not mixed with precipitation. And
right. We don't have any. We don't really have anything out there in terms of precipitation. Off to the southeast, though, they're expecting a severe weather outbreak in the southeastern states, so we should probably be counting ourselves lucky that we're just dealing with the wind at this point.
There you go. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, a Monday afternoon shooting takes the life of 2 people in Baxter Springs, and authorities take the suspected shooter into custody. Authorities responded to reports just before 3 p.m. yesterday to a home in the 2400 block of Lincoln. Cherokee County authorities confirmed 2 people are dead and 1 person has life-threatening injuries. Authorities say they arrested 41-year-old Kyle Butts of Independence, Missouri. He is in the Cherokee County Jail pending formal charges. The KBI is now taking over the investigation. You can follow this story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com as updates come in. Well, there may be some changes to the housing market in Joplin. KOAM's Yana Dula spoke to a Joplin real estate agent and has more.
Real estate agent Shaylee Brown says the housing market in Joplin is moving from seller's market to a more normalized market.
Inventory in Joplin has been very low. We've been in like the 200 homes on the market, 300 homes on the market.
Brown says the market now has around 600 to 700 homes.
Buyers are getting a little bit of reprieve and we're normalizing just a little bit, which is good.
She says interest rates are going up, which affects on how many buyers are out there.
While interest rates are shoppable and you can always redo your interest rate. So even if you buy right now with a little bit higher interest rate, if they drop again, you can refinance and change your rate, right? So we like to say, marry the home, but date the rate.
A Joplin resident recently bought a new home. She's happy that there are more houses on the market to choose from.
It felt like it was a good value for the home, and we did have the home appraised too, and it was that value.
Buying a home before Christmas can be important for many.
I wanted to get a tree up and be able to maybe put lights on before we actually got settled in anywhere, and we found people that would rent our current house out, and they wanted the same thing. So we ended up doing November 10th so that everyone had time to do holidays with families and they could be in the house.
Brown says they see more serious buyers with Christmas time approaching.
Sometimes December is our highest month of sales as a company, so a lot of times people try to get into homes before the holidays, so we've actually had a pretty active Thanksgiving break. We just came off of quite a bit of work over Thanksgiving break, which is good. Hopefully we'll get people into their homes before Christmas and they'll get to start the new year in their new place.
Janna Hautala, KOAM News.
And Brown expects the housing market to stay the same for the rest of the year. This morning, we're discussing the season of giving.
We are indeed, and the season of giving is in full swing in one Wisconsin neighborhood's very own Winter Wonderland. The cars lined up and down the block for the first day of Candy Cane Lane's light show, all raising money toward funding childhood cancer research.
Nearly 300 neighbors curate their own displays to garner donations for a worthy cause and then put a smile on people's faces. That holiday magic is what brings people back to help plan the annual event year after year. Dozens were walking through the community LED display with friends and family.
And sparking joy while shining a light or two on a nonprofit close to many hearts. And that brings us to our question for you this morning. How do you plan to give this holiday season? By donating money, by helping others, maybe donating blood, cooking, or maybe you don't have any plans, or maybe you're going to do something different. So far, 30% of you say you're going to donate money, 30% of you say you're going to help others, 30% of you also say you don't have any plans this year. understandable given inflation and everything else. There's some of us who maybe aren't going to be able to help out this year, might be on the receiving end of some of this help. And 10% of you say you're going to do something else. Make sure you vote through our website and through our Facebook page and through the app. And also don't forget about our Toy Box Tuesday. Starts today.
That's
Very first
right.
telethon.
Today at noon, 5 and 6. Those are the numbers you can call in during our newscast, or you can email us or send us there's a link on our Facebook and website where you can actually donate online and do it easy that way. And if you prefer to shop, you can go pick up a new unwrapped toy and drop it off at one of our partner locations or here at the station.
And we've got a list of those partner locations at KOAMnewsnow.com, your source for just about everything. And it, of course, includes all the Toy Box related stuff.
And your latest forecast.
Yes, and it's going to get cold tonight into tomorrow, only 41 degrees. We warm up a bit by Friday, and then we see some rain chances, a cool down Saturday, and we start warming up toward the start of next week. And then as that system brings us rain and mild weather, once it clears out, we get really cold. 36 next Wednesday, only 30 next Thursday. So enjoy the mild weather while you can, because this roller coaster ride is going to take us on the downside as we head into the middle of next week.
That's right. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, the clock is ticking as the government works to avoid a rail strike that could cripple the nation's economy right in the heart of the holiday shopping season.
Plus, we're going to take another look at that windy forecast for you and talk about some of the wind advisories we're seeing across the area coming up.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back, but first there's a live look at the Christmas lights in Webb City. In Consumer Watch this morning, a fourth major cryptocurrency company has now filed for bankruptcy this year. New Jersey-based lender BlockFi is seeking to restructure under Chapter 11 protection, citing exposure to the collapse of cryptocurrency exchange FTX. The firm had already paused client withdrawals earlier this month, and it claims it has more than 100,000 creditors with liabilities totaling from $1 to $10 billion. Today is the 10th year of Giving Tuesday, a global movement that has inspired millions of people to donate and charities and celebrate generosity. Last year, a record $2.7 billion was donated in the U.S. alone. Creators of the movement insist it is not just about money, but also taking small actions that'll brighten someone else's day. Well, the clock is ticking as the White House and Congress push to avoid a rail shutdown before the holidays. Multiple rail unions rejected a deal mediated by the Biden administration earlier this year. The main sticking point? They want more paid sick time. Without intervention from federal lawmakers, rail workers could strike as soon as next week. In a statement, President Biden said a shutdown would devastate the U.S. economy. It came the same day U.S. stocks took a dive after a weekend of protest in China over strict COVID-19 policies. Naomi Ruckham has more.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi says this week the House will consider legislation to avert a looming national rail strike. Yesterday, President Biden called on Congress to pass a bill adopting the tentative labor agreement his administration brokered between rail employers and labor leaders back in September, after 4 out of 12 rail unions voted it down.
The president has been very clear. Shutdown is unacceptable because of the impact that it would have on jobs and families and farms and businesses and communities just across the country.
Economists predict a strike could cost the U.S. economy up to $2 billion a day and upset an already fragile supply chain just before the holidays.
Rail accounts for over 1/4 of all the transport of goods in the economy. It's really key to getting goods produced overseas onto store shelves.
That comes as companies like Apple are already warning of production losses amid unrest in China over the country's strict COVID-19 lockdown. Protests swept through multiple cities over the weekend, leading to clashes with police and arrests. Several of those demonstrations went as far as calling for Chinese President Xi Jinping to resign.
We continue to stand up and support the right of peaceful protest. And I think we're going to watch this closely and we'll see where things go.
U.S. markets tumbled Monday amid the unrest, with the Dow dropping almost 500 points. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
Well, during a press conference earlier this morning, Chinese health officials announced a plan to accelerate the country's vaccination plan. in particular among the elderly. President Biden, meanwhile, will travel to Bay City, Michigan today, where he will tour a semiconductor chip manufacturing facility and deliver remarks on the economy. That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, some of us have wind advisories through 1 o'clock today, and that's because we're going to be seeing wind gusts of around 50 miles an hour. Take a look at how quick these clouds are racing across the sky. Our camera's shaking a bit, and the trees blowing in the wind. Winds again gusting upwards of about 50. South-southwest at 35. It's 58 in Joplin right now with mostly cloudy skies. The south wind has done one thing. It's made it quite mild this morning. 56 Chinook, Chautauqua, Miami, 53 Lamar, 54 in Carthage. Live look at the MoDOT camera at I-44 and Rangeline, looking at 36th Street. It's even shaking a bit in the wind as well. Quite a bit of cars out there, and if you're traveling, there's a yellow light for the wind. We're mostly cloudy in the 50s, but do be cautious while you're driving. Same thing with our evening drive. Winds gusting maybe 30 miles an hour, but still enough to knock around high-profile vehicles. Kids getting on the bus, 54 degrees, mostly cloudy at 7 a.m., and by 3, we're 56 with partly cloudy, mostly clear skies. That's how we'll be today with an early high of 65. Temperatures fall through the day down to 34 by 8, and as we head into tonight, clouds clear out and we drop back down to a low of 24 degrees. We'll have more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Staff Sergeant Ryan Mercer. The native of Miami, Oklahoma, served from 2001 to 2010 in Cuba, Iraq, and Afghanistan as part of the 414th MP Company. To Staff Sergeant Ryan Mercer, we thank you, today's four-state hero.
Time to celebrate some Tuesday birthdays, and we're going to begin in Galena with Rowan Spivey celebrating the big number 2 today. Happy birthday to you, Rowan.
And we'll head over to Girard for a 4th birthday celebration with Key Mac Vins. Birthday celebrations and wishes coming from Mom, Dad, Coy, and crew. Happy birthday, Key.
And in Girard as well, we've got Cooper Franklin celebrating number 8 with the catch of the day. It's a good-looking fish there, Cooper. Hope you get some more out there as well. Happy birthday.
And back to Galena, where Savannah Berry's turning 19 years old today. Happy birthday, Savannah.
And we've got Tyler Dryling over in Oswego celebrating birthday number 46. Looks like he's taking care of some hard work there. Hopefully today is a little bit easier for you, Tyler. Happy birthday.
All right, and we've got a 25th anniversary celebration with the Dragers in Columbus. Congratulations going out to Ben and Alicia. What a great picture of them. Happy anniversary.
And in Chautauqua, we've got Terry and Michelle Hildebrand celebrating their 54th wedding anniversary. Terry and Michelle, a very happy anniversary to you.
All right. And our friend and neighbor Retha Schultz celebrating in Columbus. Haven't seen you in a while. Happy birthday, Miss Retha.
We've also got Dale Ligon in Iola celebrating today, as well as Edith Scott down in Pittsburgh celebrating. Happy birthday and anniversary to all of you. And if you'd like to help us make this list grow, Tanya's going to tell you how to do that.
That's right. You can send your birthdays or your anniversaries to either of those 2 emails. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Just send us your picture and all the details, and don't forget the date for sure. At birthdays with an S at KOAMTV.com or birthdays at KOAMNewsNow.com.
And while you're checking out our website, don't forget it's Toy Box Tuesday. And while you're there to maybe donate, help out with that, you can also sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. You get great deals from local businesses. All you need to do is go to KOAMNewsNow.com, click on the Mornings tab, and sign up for the Birthday Club today. All right, so wind is the thing, is going to be the theme through the morning. We've got wind gusts upwards of 50 miles an hour through about the noon hour today, and then they'll start to get down to about the 20, 30, even still up to 40 mile an hour range heading into the afternoon. It won't be until tomorrow morning that we start to see the wind actually calm down. Now, because of that, we do have wind advisories for these counties in tan until 1 o'clock today because it is going to be very windy. Take a look at the wind pushing the clouds across our tower cam at 7th and Rangeline. It's shaking the trees, shaking the camera a little bit as well. 58 in Joplin, wind to south-southwest at 35, gusting upwards of about 50 miles an hour. Mild temperatures thanks to the south breeze, though. 52 Neodesha, 56 Chinook, 55 Parsons, 56 Miami, 55 Neosho, and 54 in Carthage. Live look at the MoDOT camera at the I-44 and Range Line, looking at 36th Street. Looking good so far, but we do have a yellow light for your morning drive because of the wind. Be mostly cloudy in the 50s. Same thing for the drive home. Yellow light for the wind, as will be partly cloudy, and temperatures begin to drop. We'll go over that in more detail here in just a second. Excuse me. There we go. All right, bus stop forecast. 7 a.m. We're looking at 54 degrees. When the kids come home, 56, and of course windy, mostly clear. We'll be partly cloudy, mostly clear skies, early high of 65, and then take a look at this. Temperatures begin to fall through the day. We're down 34 by 8, and we're going to get cold tonight, dropping back to an overnight low of 24 degrees under mostly clear skies. Sun set to officially rise at 7:11 this morning, and it will set at 5:02. Now on to the 7-day forecast. Only 41 tomorrow, so we don't really do a lot of warming up. We do try and warm up heading into Friday, but we have some shower chances Friday, 58. Cools us down Saturday, and then rain chances build back in Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We get back into the lower 60s, and after this system exits, we drop down to 26, so a day similar to today about a week from now. Then 36 on Wednesday, only 30 by next Thursday. So enjoy the warm weather while you can, because this roller coaster ride is going to take us on a big dip coming up next week. Be right back after this, but first, here's another live look at the Christmas lights in Webb City.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Authorities respond to reports of a shooting just before 3 p.m. yesterday afternoon to a home in the 2400 block of Lincoln in Baxter Springs. Cherokee County authorities confirmed 2 people are dead. One person has life-threatening injuries. Authorities arrested 41-year-old Kyle Butts of Independence, Missouri. He's in the Cherokee County Jail pending formal charges. KBI is now taking over the investigation. On Sunday, just after 2 in the afternoon, El Dorado Springs police responded to the 100 block of North Jackson Street concerning a deceased person in the nearby creek bed. That deceased individual has been identified as 30-year-old Tori Richards of El Dorado Springs. Cedar County Coroner's Office is assisting the investigation, although authorities say there is no apparent sign of foul play. Next of kin have been notified. When a Native American is murdered or disappears on one of the 324 federally recognized reservations across the country, most of the cases fall within federal jurisdiction, requiring federal law enforcement to investigate. More than 82% of American Indian and Alaska Native men and women reported experiences of violent victimization in their lifetime. According to the Congressional Research Service, similarly, Native Americans also reported missing at higher rates than the general U.S. public. Among the missing Native Americans, authorities are still searching for Grove, Oklahoma native Aubrey DeMarin. She was 25 years old at the time when she went missing in March of 2019. If you have any information about the location of Aubrey, you are urged to contact the Delaware County Sheriff's Office, the OSBI, or the Cherokee Nation Marshal Service. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Wind advisories for some of us through 1 o'clock, as we'll see gusts upwards of 50 miles an hour for the first half of the day. Early high of 65, and then temperatures begin to fall under partly cloudy skies. We drop back down to a very cold low of 24 degrees tonight under mostly clear skies. And we do not do a lot of warming as we head into tomorrow, only 41 degrees. We try to warm up by Friday, then some showers, a little cooler Saturday. We start to warm up toward the beginning of next week at least, with our next system bringing us some rain chances by Sunday and Monday.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making fall off the bone short ribs in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Sounds pretty good. Your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. The frustrations faced by some veterans trying to get funds set aside after alleged exposure to toxic water at one of the Marine's biggest bases. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we've got Kavanaugh Studevin from the Carl Junction Chamber of Commerce in studio to tell us all you need to know about the Carl Junction Christmas Parade.
Plus, Charlene Patton from the Kansas Soybean Commission heads into the studio with me to transform those turkey leftovers into an amazing turkey casserole.
Ooh, what a great idea.
That's going to wrap it up for us for now. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you and do it all again today at noon.